Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And here's the funny thing. I've been doing over 600 programs, and I think this is the first time we've dedicated an entire program to the subject that we're going to be talking about. And it's a very important subject for any business owner because it's a way, it's how we keep track of our customers, our clients, our people that our business partners, all of those things. And so we're going to talk in detail about this with Susan Marshall. So welcome, Susan.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here on your show.
Great. Well, let me tell people just a little bit about you. So Susan Marshall is a 25 plus year technology professional, having worked at Adobe, Apple, and Salesforce, those little guys. As the visionary behind Torchlite, Susan brought the first Torchlite Marketplace online in 2015 to create a roadmap for marketers to successfully navigate the digital learning curve ahead, while giving highly skilled professional freelancers the opportunity to expand their own businesses. Now a certified Salesforce partner, Torchlite's primary focus is to serve businesses working with cross-cloud Salesforce products. Susan loves technology, digital marketing, and building teams of super smart people. So again, Susan, welcome.
Thank you. That was a long intro, and there's a lot to unpack there. But
I know. So let's dig in and go back to you've done a variety of things. You've worked at it. I looked at your LinkedIn profile, and you've been in tech for most of your career, if not all.
Yeah.
How is it that you got to where you are now, and how did you discover that this really is your passion?
Yes. So yes, I have been around the block. I've been working in tech for 25 years. And the last company was Salesforce, and we're talking about CRMs, or customer relationship management platforms, and they are the leading CRM. Many people think of them as an enterprise platform.
Right.
They serve all segments. Small businesses make up 30% of their customers. And so there's quite a few people who are in the small business, less than 20 employees, in fact, less than 100. I think they classify as less than 100 employees are using Salesforce as their CRM. But I was there and I was working on product. And when you sit in product, oftentimes you sit in the intersection of sales, marketing.
Right.
Everybody's coming to you for, it needs to do this, or we need help us with that. And one time I was speaking at an event, I was on stage, and a woman came up to me and she said, I've bought your Salesforce products. I believed in the vision, but I personally don't have the skills to get the most out of it. I don't have my boss hasn't given me any headcount to hire anybody. So I'm really struggling, and can you help me? And I had just spoken to a freelance contractor just down just before my presentation, who said, I'm a contractor and I'm really good at Salesforce and I can help. How can you help me connect to the people who need it? And so that was my idea.
The little light bulb went.
Little torchlight went off. And I went to my boss and I said, hey, we should build a marketplace where all these freelancers could come in, they could showcase their skills. And then people like this woman who needed help could come and find them, and they could find each other. And he said, great idea, probably not in our roadmap this year, but if you want to go do it, you should go start your own business and I'll be your first investor.
Wow.
So boom, I left the cozy comfort of a big, wonderful corporate tech company and decided to start my own. And so that was in 2015 that I started.
Wonderful. I love it. I love it. And I love the fact that you're kind of a hub for freelancers because that's excuse me, that is one of the things that no matter what it is, people struggle with, and especially small business owners, because, we put our little, I'm a small business owner hat on. And then we put our invoicing hat on, a salesman hat on, might have a little legal hat on there, whatever it is.
Everything.
And pretty soon we're like, oh my God, I can't take on any more.
I know.
And more importantly, we don't want to admit that we don't know how to do it. Because somehow it gets in our little brains that as that small business owner, as that entrepreneur, we have to be able to do it all. And of course, that couldn't be further from the truth. We just need to do whatever that little thing is that we started the business for. And if possible, and when possible, outsource, or bring somebody in, but not, take that hat off and give it to somebody else.
Right. Well, I believe personally that a small business can benefit tremendously from having a better understanding of who their customers are, and their likes and dislikes and preferences, and what they've purchased, what they've returned, the last time you had an interaction with them, so that, if you have a great CRM, which we're here to talk about, customer platform, you could scale through technology without having to hire a bunch of additional personnel to help you understand that. Right. And so, CRMs used to be, more for the enterprise, more expensive, but it's really become democratized, and you can find good tools to help you manage your data more effectively.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is all about managing that data. I was sharing with you before the program started that I was in a mastermind group actually earlier this week, and we were talking about CRMs, and the question was, what CRM do you use? And luckily it was just on the phone, because he couldn't see me making a face, because my answer was, it's all in my head.
Yeah.
And which, that's and the sad thing is, that's what it is for many people, whether we're the business owner, whether we're the salesperson, whether we're whoever. We think we can keep track in our heads, or, I don't have it handy, we've got that pile of business cards, right?
Yep.
We go somewhere, we get the pile of business cards, and we're going to do something with them at some point. and we set them aside, and that pile of business cards pretty soon takes on a life of its own, because we keep adding to it, but then it also gets cobwebs and all sorts of things, because we never do anything with it. Yeah. And the problem is, some of those people were just nice and polite and handed you their business card, but many of them really might want to be doing business with you, or be a business partner or something like that. And because you never followed up with them, maybe more than you might have connected with them on LinkedIn or something like that, but then you never talked to them again, and they forgot you existed.
Yeah. And you can connect your CRM. So the great part about getting your data into a CRM is that you can connect it to your point of sale system. You can connect it to, if you do more to B2B or services, you could connect it to an email service provider and do what's called lead nurturing. Right. So maybe you're not ready to do business with them now, but you want to stay top of mind, so that when the opportunity does arise, they think of your company. Right. So if you connect your database or your CRM with these other tools, you can run automations, and like every month or every 3 days or whatever you decide is the right cadence, you can keep interacting with them without having to pick up the phone and call them. So, so that's why it's important.
Right. And the tools that we have now, whether it's Salesforce, whether it's, some of the other platforms, they really are very automated. And so you can, say you and I met at a conference, we might actually be able to go to those things again at some point. So, I get your business card, we chatted a little bit, I go back, I dutifully, maybe I use a scanner. That's even better, so I don't have to type it. And so, but I get your contact information in, and then, maybe immediately there's, a specific thing that goes out to every person that we met, or that I met, that says, hey, it was great meeting you at XYZ conference. Because, we don't always remember. And then maybe a week later, there's another nudge, and then, so on and so on. But it kind of keeps track of those things. Right. And it really is very automated. We're not having to stop and, what did we do 10 years ago? We had things, like I said, we've got the pile of business cards, but maybe we kept, an Excel spreadsheet. And we thought, when was the last time we maybe we should contact these people again. And, all those various things, they might not be there. They might've changed, what their role was, all sorts of things. And they really only did need a little gentle nudge every once in a while just to say, hey, Susan's there. Here's what
Yep.
Susan does,
Yep.
and then you kind of go on.
Right, right. And so, I mean, in my case, we are a freelance management platform.
Mm-hmm.
We specialize in connecting certified Salesforce experts,
Mm-hmm.
folks who really know the platform. They
Right.
know how to get your data in the platform. They know how to build reports on
Mm-hmm.
that data.
Mm-hmm.
So you build what's called dashboards, so you can see what percentage are partners, which
Mm-hmm.
percentage are leads, which percentage of those leads converted into customers, how
Mm-hmm.
long did that take? All of that is possible. So we have those freelancers in our platform.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have our customers also who come to the platform to find them. But we have we have a nurturing automated program that reaches out to the freelancers. Day one, you may not have gotten a job today, but
Mm-hmm.
keep coming back and
Mm-hmm.
checking. There might be more opportunities for
Mm-hmm.
you. So we keep those freelancers engaged
Mm-hmm.
through our automation.
Right.
And we do that with customers too.
Mm-hmm.
Like they might not need a freelancer
Mm-hmm.
right now, but we keep reminding them that we're here.
Mm-hmm.
And if they do have a gap on their team, or if they find they need some help, and that really works. So I have a small team. I don't have a lot of employees,
Mm-hmm.
but through technology, we
Mm-hmm.
can, we can really scale our
Right.
marketing
Right.
scale. Yeah.
Well, and because of technology, they can be anywhere.
Right.
And I think in the post-COVID world, whenever we hit that point, I think that's really going to be more and more important. I think we're going to discover, you know what? Working with somebody across the block, across the street, around the world works.
Right. Right. And I think we were all forced to go to our homes
Mm-hmm.
to learn how to use video conferencing and kind
Mm-hmm.
of adjust from, meeting for coffee
Mm-hmm.
and shaking hands to an online
Right.
virtual sort of way of meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people are getting comfortable with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're also getting comfortable with, maybe a child will run by or your
Mm-hmm.
dog will bark, and it kind of humanizes us.
Mm-hmm.
We all have
Right.
plants and dogs
Mm-hmm.
and, cats.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I don't know that I wonder what's going to happen to Starbucks, because Starbucks was
I
like,
know.
the place where everybody met. And
Mm-hmm.
but now we can do that virtually,
Mm-hmm. Right.
I
Yeah.
should go get
And
coffee.
I think it's that way for a lot of businesses. Maybe they were somebody who catered to the lunch crowd,
Yeah.
and there's no crowd, and it's funny, obviously for months, every time I've interviewed somebody, we've talked about all of the changes, and I really do see that we're and it's purely anecdotal. We're not quite 6 months into this. But I think many people are going to continue working from home, whether it's a hybrid type of thing where they go into their office a couple days a week and then they're home for the rest of the time, or maybe they're back in the office, or they're completely home based. I mean, I think there's going to be a
Mhm.
variety of things because businesses figured out, hey, this worked. Once they
Well,
got everybody settled. I mean, that was the hard part. It was like,
yeah, the
were you there
change.
one day and
Yeah.
the next day you weren't?
Yeah. Yeah.
And people didn't have the right equipment. They didn't, I mean, I talked to people who didn't have desk chairs, didn't have desks. And
Right.
it's funny, there's still a shortage on desks.
Are there?
But, and they certainly didn't have the right equipment. Maybe they didn't have good enough Wi-Fi. I was talking with one person who has 4 kids that she homeschools, and a husband who is now home full time. And then she said 6 people on their Wi-Fi at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not so much,
Right.
especially when several were trying to do video and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, we've settled in, we've kind of gotten to where we are. And the cool thing is now businesses have calmed down enough that they're thinking, okay, now we need to get ourselves reorganized, all these various things, and reach out to current, former, potential customers, business partners, all of those things. And so they're digging out the piles of business cards and thinking, okay, now what do I do? And so that's where the CRM comes in.
Right, right, for sure. And just one comment on sort of the change of the way we're working. Since we manage a network of freelancers,
Mm-hmm.
freelancers for years have been working from home,
Right.
from their
Mm-hmm.
kitchens, they have their home offices.
Mm-hmm.
And so for a lot of them, that wasn't much of a change.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to get questions like, well, I don't know if I want to work with a freelancer because I really need to see them. I need
Mm-hmm.
them to be sitting right next to me.
I need to look over their shoulder.
I need to look over their shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
I know. And so that was one of the things we'd say, these people are highly accountable. They may work from Miami, but they are working, I can guarantee you, 8 hours a day at their desk. But now, you know, we're seeing a lot of requests for freelancers
Right.
because one, you know, they might not get the head count because of the economic uncertainty. And then, you know, two, they need that help. They need people to help them with their CRM or their marketing products and everything else. And they're more willing to use a freelance or contractor than ever before. And they're,
Well, and I think a lot of them have discovered that those 8-hour, you know, full-time employees, maybe they didn't need, you know, which, I mean, that's, you know, and good or bad, you know, and I think part of it is people who used to go in and sit at a desk and work for 8+ hours. When they're home, they're actually more productive. I mean, I've seen that, you know, once people figured out, okay, we can't stop and watch TV, we can't stop and do laundry, we can't stop and play with the kids, or if we do, we have to, you know, figure out how we're going to do that. I think people did determine very quickly they can be more productive when they're not having the people stop by their cubicle, you know, they're not having to go to meetings, right? When we got rid of the endless meetings where you sat and did nothing, you know, people are really more productive. So the 8-hour workday may be a 6-hour workday. Or it could be that they go, you know what, we can do this with consultants, with freelancers. Or people might go, you know what, I want to be a freelancer too. You know, my job is only taking me 6 hours a day. I've got extra time.
Right. We do get some, we call them moonlighters. And as long as they have permission from their employer to use those extra off hours, and they're using it to upskill, you know, so going and getting additional certifications on
so that's good for their employer.
That's good for their employer. It also helps them not only, you know, generate extra income, but also sort of not future proof them, but helps them with additional opportunities because they're improving their skills because they might have those extra couple hours a day to do that.
Right.
So yeah, it's definitely an interesting time, isn't it? I mean,
oh yeah. You know, and it really is, again, I'm thinking in 6 months, hopefully things will have settled and we'll know about what, because that'll be, you know, we'll be about a year into it, you know, 6 months from now. Of course, I started saying that like 3 months ago. So, you know, who knows? And it's, it really is just kind of one of those things that we're not sure what's going on. But, you know, I think now more than ever, we have to be reaching out to our customers. We have to remind them that we exist, because we're not seeing them face to face. You know, we're not going to the chamber meetings, we're not going to conventions, you know, all of those various things. So the only way they remember that we exist is they might be connected with us on social media. So they might see something there, but the better thing is you want them to get an email from you or something that is very specific, that says, you know, hey, here's what we do, you know, as opposed to just, look, here's the picture of my cat today.
Yeah. Well, it's not only what do I do, but CRMs can help you get really personalized too. So, I mean, you can collect all kinds of data on a customer. So instead of saying, here's Torchlite, we're a freelance marketplace of Salesforce experts, hope we can help one day, it would be,
right, because people just went, we don't know what that means.
We don't know what that means, but it could be, dear Mary, how's everything going at the store? We have a freelancer that can help you with your, you know, if you're having a problem with people leaving items in their like online store,
right? It nags them.
yeah, we can help you with that. So we can be specific based on, you know, personalizing their first name, understanding their company, maybe some challenges that they're having. So yeah, you can reach out to them, but also do it in a real personal way.
Right. And you can get even more personal with a lot of the platforms and put things in there like birth dates, anniversary dates, all of those things. You know, that's the old salesman trick, you know, where they sent out the birthday cards and you know, the anniversary cards, and the really good salesmen had, you know, what we used to call the Rolodex. And in there it said, you know, here's Susan's birthday, here's her anniversary date, here's the date she founded Torchlite, you know, all those various things. And then you'd get a phone call, you get a printed card, you get something. And we all went, oh my gosh, that must be the most wonderful person in the world. He remembered my birthday.
Yeah, and it does work, because I don't know about you, I get all kinds of emails that are not relevant at all still today. And so anytime we send out some sort of communication, we do try to and, you know, and some of these automation tools that are affordable for small businesses are cross-channel.
Right.
So you could send an email
Mm-hmm.
1 week, and then you could send them a postcard
Mm-hmm.
like 2 weeks later,
Mm-hmm.
and then, even do something on social. So
Right.
it
Or it
gets
can remind you, make that phone call. Mm-hmm.
right. Or yeah, for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Or, yeah, pick up the phone and actually like
Mm-hmm.
make a call. So, and I still think those personal touches where you pick up the phone and actually like
Mm-hmm.
interact with somebody makes a difference. And I still handwrite letters too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Oh yeah, I have, when somebody hand writes me something, it stays with me. And so it's interesting because we don't get those.
And it's nice. It's
Mm-hmm.
very personal in a very digital world.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Right.
it's a difference.
That always reminds me of an old Andy Rooney thing, back when he was obviously still alive, but on 60 Minutes. And he was talking about personalized Christmas cards.
Oh,
And
yeah.
this was, this was probably 20 years ago. And how the cards can come pre-signed, and so his card was pre-signed, Andy and whoever Rooney. And his nephew complained that Uncle Andy hadn't taken the time to even write his name on his Christmas card. And Uncle Andy got miffed, and on 60 Minutes said he sure didn't mind that I hand wrote that check.
Exactly.
But it does kind of have a point. That's we can't get too automated. And so when there's that personal touch, we're like, wow, that's so cool.
That feels good. Yeah. We just got referred a bunch of business from a Salesforce sales rep who recommended one of his clients. It was actually the American Cancer Society recommended that they use our freelancers for a project. And I found out that he was interested in learning about cooking. And so I sent him a gift certificate for masterclass where he could go online. And it was kind of expensive. I don't know if I can do that for everybody, but to go online.
ACS could be a big client though. So.
Yeah. So, but I took the time to kind of understand, not only does he sell Salesforce products, but he likes cooking.
He's a person.
He's a person. And maybe he'd like to learn something new that's not necessarily just around technology, but cooking, learn from Gordon Ramsay or something. So, and hopefully that made an impact. I got to thank you, but
Right.
So.
Yeah. And it's, even the communications can be personalized. I was mentioning, you come back from the convention with the stack of cards and you get the follow-up email. If the follow-up email has my name and mentions the conference, that gets bonus points.
Yeah.
Because I know that somebody at least took a little bit of time to put in there, hey, to put my first name. And it's really funny. I can usually tell where somebody got my name. So if something comes to me as Deborah, I know they pulled it off of LinkedIn because that's the only place I use Deborah.
Okay.
But like my business cards, everything else say Deb. And so but yeah, if they take the time to just add that little bit, that impresses me because I go, oh yeah, and plus, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah. I do remember we met at that chamber event or whatever it was.
Yeah. And I think the reason it impresses us is because we think, you have so many choices. You can do business with so many different people and companies. And if somebody's prospecting and trying to reach you and they take the time to get to know you and what your needs are and have respect for your time, there's an assumption that once you engage with them and maybe buy their product or services, you'll have the same kind of interaction because the culture of that company is that way. So I don't know if it always works out that way, but that's kind of how I think about it,
Right.
So,
and it's always good to be in touch, because, and it doesn't matter if it's client, former client, vendor, all those various things. When I was in that mastermind group and we were talking about CRMs, I mentioned the fact that I had gone with someone I knew as providing our home security. Great guy, really liked him, all these various things. And, several years down the road, somebody wanted, hey, Deb, if you got a security company, sure, here's who you need to talk to. A couple of days go by, the guy contacts me and he said, this is really weird. He never responded. And I was thinking, well, how rude.
Yeah.
And so, I reached out to the guy because I had his business email and then I had like a Gmail or something like that. So I emailed and he said, oh yeah, I sold that company a year ago.
Oh, he should have let you know.
Yeah. And because then my next question was, who have I been paying? And so that was just very bizarre. And he actually had very, very good reasons for the transition. So it's kind of fun to catch up and find those. But yeah, it was, I'd been traded, it's kind of like I was, a baseball player. I got traded to a different team and didn't even know it.
Right.
But, so there were 2 missed points of contact, because he could have said, thank you so much for being my client. Here's a change that's going to happen. But more importantly, the company that took over should have reached out and said, hi, we're so-and-so. We have now taken over that company.
Yes.
You're not going to lose any services.
Right.
Here's all these things. Because, it was just very odd that, like I said, I was the baseball player that got traded and didn't even know it.
Yeah. And that was an opportunity for the new company, not only to help you with the transition, make you feel comfortable, but as a business, maybe they could say, and we also offer this service.
Right. Oh yeah, because it was a much bigger company. And so they did pass up on the chance to say, not only do we do that, we do this.
Do this, and this. So it was a sales opportunity as well, not only to retain you as a customer, but also maybe sell additional services or products. Yeah.
And it wouldn't have been that complicated, because, they clearly got our information because they kept billing us. Yeah. But yeah, just a simple little email that reached out and talked to us would have been perfect. And we've had that, we all have that happen multiple times. You go in to get your hair cut and that person's gone, or, it's not that restaurant anymore. It's not Starbucks anymore, all these various things. And we do feel a little bit more like they don't care about us. So that's, I think, what I'm aiming for is, what can we do to show people that we care? Right, exactly. And there are lots of tools that'll enable you to do that. And it doesn't have to be that, cost prohibitive. It doesn't have to take that much time. And of course, I believe you could get a freelancer to do it, in a way that doesn't mean you're hiring a full-time person that you may have to let go later, or, and that's all they do. That's one thing about freelancers is oftentimes my experience is they're highly specialized. Like, you can find somebody who's freelanced in your vertical, your size of company, your region, knows the technology. And a lot of times the freelancers become sort of an extension of your team. They feel like part of your team because they know your business. Right. So well. Which that is what you want them to be, and because they're writing things on your behalf. Yeah. And so they need to know, okay, well, here's kind of what they're talking about and things like that. And not only what do the products do, or what benefits are they, but what's the voice of the brand, of the owners, and making sure they're consistent with that, and make sure that comes through in the communication. Right. Yeah. And just doing a little bit of research on that. It's interesting. I do consulting for social media posting. Oh, you do? And I had a friend come to me one time, and this was when I lived in Colorado, and she had signed a long-term contract with a company, and she said, I'm not real happy, and so I want you to tell me what I should do. And and so I go to her social media, to her business pages, and she was in Denver. This company was somewhere back east, one of the big companies. And she paid them a lot. This was big. Right. Yeah. And they had very standardized things that they said. So she was a chef, she did catering, things like that. They knew absolutely nothing about her business. So, like I said, looking through your posts, when did you start doing wedding cakes? And she said, we don't do wedding cakes. I said, well, it's funny, but your Facebook post says you do. Or it would say things like, it's snowing outside. Well, anybody who knows Colorado knows, it could be snowing a half mile away and, nothing in somewhere else. And so, that was very strange, because people were like, well, you must be closed. No, it's, 60 degrees out. Right. So, that's where the freelancer has to become part of that team, and know them, and a really good freelancer will become part of that team. They will. And one of the things I love about freelancers is that they're their own small business. Right. And so this is their own personal brand, and they take it very seriously. They're not an employee of a big agency. And so they do take that time to really understand somebody's business, to upskill, to make sure they, know the latest social media platforms and how you use them. And, they take it very, very seriously. So I was just going to add to your story. So
being accurate should be a baseline, right?
Mhm.
They know whether or
Right.
not to make wedding cakes.
Uh-huh.
But also, if you're local, you can take advantage of local opportunities.
Yes.
So if you are a freelancer freelancing for somebody that makes, window wipers on cars, and you are in region and you know it's going to rain tomorrow, then you can say, hey, we've got a
Right.
special on, because it's going to rain tomorrow. So you can be also opportunistic as
Right.
well,
Right.
accurate.
And you don't have to be in that area. There's the internet. You could be looking online. You can check the Weather Channel, whatever it is.
Right. Well, that's
but
true.
you need to appear to
Yeah.
be there.
True.
And then it does help. You've mentioned several times that some of the freelancers are very industry specific.
Yeah.
So that's great. And it's not that they're potentially, because people are always like, ooh, well, I don't want somebody, because they're a competitor. Well, it's a big world,
Yeah.
and, so one message, more than likely you're not going to be, giving the secrets away to somebody else.
Probably not. And if they know your competitor, make sure they have a non-compete and everything.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But, they'll say, well, let's talk about ways to differentiate you.
Yes.
My experience is you're more expensive, but you're also, higher quality in this area or something. So, yes.
Yeah, because the freelancer wants them both to be successful.
Because they're both clients. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and how many secrets are there really?
Right. Yeah. And there's certainly enough consumers, probably, unless it's some, like if there were two Porsche dealerships and you represented them both, that could get a little touchy.
Yeah,
but other things, it's easier.
Yeah. And one thing I want to talk about too is, a recent report came out that the freelance economy is just growing like gangbusters now, because people are looking for second gigs to supplement their income, and also employers are hiring freelancers instead of FTEs. But there's a lot of compliance around that. For you have to think about how you work with a freelancer, and the Ubers and the Lyfts. That's the gig economy, but certainly different than I would say professional freelancers who are more technical. But we are also very sensitive to, as Torchlite, and up to speed on how freelancers have to use their own equipment. We have to make sure that they're not working full-time as an employee.
Right.
If they are, then they deserve benefits and all the things that go along with being an employee.
Uncle Sam, there's some rules in there.
There are some rules in there. So anyway, so that's one of the things that Torchlight does too, is help with the governance and compliance of working with a freelancer. So that's important when you're working with a freelancer.
Right. And then the other thing is there are regulated industries, healthcare and financial are probably the biggest ones. And so when you're working with a freelancer, you need to make sure that they know what they can and cannot say. And some things like that. And so that's where, and, whether it's that they're sending an email or posting on social media or whatever, there are certain, privacy things and all sorts of things that you just need to make sure you're doing. Because it's funny, you can get so personal that you're thinking, wow, this is a little bit spooky.
Yeah, that's especially in healthcare. Well, and your money too, financial services. Yeah.
Right. But, and then, obviously it has the disclaimers and all those various things, but it's interesting because one of the things that I see is especially regulated industries really shy away from a lot of this. And I think it's because they think it's just too complicated. And so for me, that's where hiring a freelancer would be great, because if you've got that expert, then you can reach back out. Whether, former clients, former patients, all those various things, and just keep in touch. And it's funny, I get an email every couple weeks from my dog's vet, but I never get anything from my doctors. And to me, it's pretty much the same thing. I mean, they're reminding you, are you eating well? Are you exercising? All
those things. Yeah. I get surveys from my hospital, how was the visit? And that
I get those. And it gives you
Yeah.
And you're like, whatever. But yeah, I want a reminder. And, and then they do have to pay attention. I love it when I get reminded about things that no longer apply to me for a variety of reasons. It's like,
Yeah, no,
don't
you
need
gotta
that
have
anymore.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
it's interesting. But especially in this COVID world, people want to know, are you still functioning? I had an emergency dental appointment this week, broke a tooth.
Okay. Oh, that's
And
fun.
luckily didn't hurt, all those various things, but they were able to get me in right away. And so I asked them, I said, how long did you guys have to close? And she said, well, we shut down completely for 2 months. And
Uh-huh.
then we did just emergencies for a while. And now we're starting obviously to gear back up and into doing things. And I mean, dental is really one of the things that is very, very specific as to what they can be doing and can't be doing because of germ transmission. But, when they were shut down, I had no idea what was going on with them. A simple email from them saying, hey, if you've got an emergency, here's what you need to do, would have been
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Things like that. And so, and I think other people are wondering that too. Is my favorite restaurant open? What about this? What about
Yeah.
that?
Right.
And
Are they doing takeout?
Mhm.
Maybe they're not open like they were
Mhm.
before. Maybe their menu is
Right.
different, but
Mhm.
they'll deliver, or you can pick it up
Mhm.
curbside. Or and I noticed quickly. So I was actually in Colorado when it hit. I was in Breckenridge,
Mm.
Colorado,
Mhm.
and they immediately shut down all of the lifts
Right.
and the mountain and told everybody to go home.
Mhm.
But my kids and I were stuck there, which wasn't a bad place to be stuck.
Oh yeah, Breckenridge is really pretty.
It's
Mhm.
really pretty. But the restaurants that were already digital, the
Mhm.
local restaurants that already had some way of managing
Mhm.
their customer data and could
Mhm.
communicate, were the ones that were recovering the
Right.
fastest.
Mhm.
So there were a handful of restaurants that we were getting emails from that
Mhm.
said, you know, we're still cooking.
Mhm.
You can come, but we
Right.
are only cooking these 4
Mhm.
things, and just wear your mask and pick it up at the
Mhm.
curb.
Yep.
And so we just ate at those 4
Mhm.
places, but the
Mhm.
other places you could tell were scrambling.
Mhm.
Oh gosh, we're a small business.
Mhm.
We were prepared for this. We don't have all our customer data
Mhm.
in one place.
Mhm.
Maybe they were offering curbside pickup, but they
Mhm.
didn't have any way to tell anybody because they
Mhm.
didn't have it organized. And
Right.
so, you know, bless them. I mean,
Mhm.
that's tough. And
Oh
so
yeah.
we ate
Well,
pizza.
and any type of small business,
Mhm.
many of them are still scrambling, trying to convince people, yes, we're here, we're still functioning,
Yeah.
we're working,
Hmm.
and they really could have been emailing them this whole
Yeah.
time, or obviously depending on what they do, they could have been picking up the phone, all of those various things
Hmm.
to say, here is what is going on with our business.
Yeah, yeah, we're here. And I also liked the way some of them were not only giving us instructions on how to get the food, but
Hmm.
here's how it's impacting the community and
Hmm.
our
Right.
family. And we're donating a percentage
Hmm.
to help, locals
Hmm.
who have been hit because they lost their job on the mountain or
Hmm.
whatever. So, yeah, I mean, having those basic things in place to help communicate
Hmm.
digitally, I think small businesses really felt it during
Right.
this time if they didn't have it
Hmm.
in place. And that's not just email, it's also texting
Hmm.
and for appointments and
Hmm.
reminders.
Right.
And there's
Hmm.
tons of good. I was going to mention, I was just doing some research yesterday, and there's a company called Thrive, THRYV,
Mm.
and they service small businesses.
Mhm.
And they have a program that they just launched called Thrive Adapt
Mm.
that is all for small businesses. If you
Mhm.
want to set up email communications,
Mhm.
text reminders, you need help with how people find you online.
Mhm.
It's in partnership with a company called Yext
Mm.
that they say just pay as much as you can. If you can't afford it, you know,
Right.
you don't
Because
have
they'll
to
have
pay.
others who pay quite a bit, so it kind of
Right.
balances.
So
Mhm.
they're balancing it, but I thought that was a
Mhm.
wonderful initiative to
Mhm.
come out and say, we're partnering with other technology companies to get you what you need,
Mhm.
either for free or what you can
Mhm.
afford to pay. And it's called Thrive Adapt. And I thought
Mm.
that was
Interesting.
really,
Yeah.
and I've been telling I have a friend who just started, she's an ophthalmologist, and she
Mm.
started her own
Mhm.
eye practice.
Mhm.
And so I told her, you
Mhm.
should go look at that to help
Right.
you get going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things that has amazed me with this are the people who saw opportunities and went, oh, yeah, okay, well, we can't do this, but let's do
Yeah.
this instead.
Right.
And that's what's fun, and obviously there are businesses that tragically will not survive and have not survived. But there are others where it's just amazing to watch the changes that they're making.
Yeah. And just sort of the resilience and, ingenuity of Americans and people around the world and things that they're doing. I was just reading about Amazon drivers who are sort of gaming the system, and they're putting their cell phones in the trees.
In the tree. I saw that headline, but I didn't read it.
Well, they're putting them in the trees near the, I guess, the distribution center. So I guess the way the system works, the closer you are to the pickup location.
Oh, okay. It says, hey, we
likely-
have packages for you.
Yeah, they'll get the gig. They'll get the delivery. So they'll be running around, and they'll put their phone right by the distribution center so they can get the gigs. But that's just human nature.
Right.
Through these changes, people are figuring out how to really either take advantage of it or work to their advantage. Or,
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think one of the biggest ones is exactly what we're doing here, Zoom. When they, because they were a fairly new company. I mean, I don't remember Zooming more than 2 years ago, maybe not even a year ago.
Yeah.
But when they said schools can use our product for free.
Brilliant.
Yeah. And so, you've got it on the screen and you're thinking, okay, this works for my kid. I can probably use this for business. Oh, there's a business account. Okay, I'll pay for that.
I'm going to upgrade.
Yeah. And things like that. But yeah, that was one of the best PR moves. And then when, they got overwhelmed and some things like that and had some issues, they immediately said, here's what's going on. And most other digital platforms are still really struggling. When was the last time you Skyped?
I know, which you would think Skype would be like taken off right now.
Well, especially because they've got big bucks behind them. I mean, when Microsoft is backing you,
it just shows you that some of those bigger companies, it's hard for them to move as quickly, and that's an advantage of taking it back to your audience. Small businesses and smaller, more entrepreneurial, nimble companies like Zoom can adjust more quickly than a big monolithic Microsoft, who's not really thinking, about one of their product lines, thinking about everything.
Yeah. And then you have the stores that adapted and didn't. I mean, clearly Amazon, for the most part, was going to, they just continued with what they were doing. It slowed them down a bit. The fact that I still can't get stuff overnight, that does kind of annoy me. But I'm like, okay, a year ago I couldn't, so whatever.
Right.
But then you've got the other big guy, Walmart, that's, stepping up. But then when you see the companies that are failing because they didn't step up, you could only go into a Lord and Taylor's or something like that. They had an online presence, but they couldn't figure out how to as the key word for this year is probably going to be pivot.
Right.
And so again, it's very tragic. And, I think in many cases, they were businesses that were struggling, and many of them, of course, go on a very thin margin anyway. Something one way or the other really was going to affect them, but they were having issues anyway, and this just pushed them past the point.
Right. And a lot of times it's cultural issues. So where you don't have alignment at the top,
right,
or management isn't able to clearly communicate the vision down through the rest of the organization. So it always goes back to people in my mind, even at even the Walmarts and the Microsofts and all of that.
Yeah, and we've seen that through the years. The Kodak, Barnes and Noble would probably be some of the best examples of that. Who thought, well, this really isn't going to work. It's not going to take off, so we're not going to invest in it.
Yeah.
And I think Barnes and Noble is still online. And Kodak still exists because they do other things, but certainly not what they were, many years ago. And so it's always very interesting to see things like that.
Yeah. I mean, and watching Uber and Lyft and their sort of meteoric, however you pronounce that, rise, but they're struggling now because of the, people were not going out and not getting.
But then they went, ooh, we can deliver food.
Right.
And I mean, that transition right there immediately saved Probably both of them,
Yeah.
because they did say, well, we can't deliver people because, a stranger doesn't want to get into a car with another stranger. Who
Mm-hmm.
knows what's been in there, all those various things. But, we can deliver food.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm. And not giving up,
right.
I
Yeah.
think that, perseverance and
Mm-hmm.
thinking of new ways to solve problems
Mm-hmm.
is it's really fun to
Mm-hmm.
see.
Right.
I don't know if you read that new book by Elon Musk. Have
Mm-mm.
you have you read? He was talking about at one point, they were having a hard time. He says in his book, and he turned all non-production people into salespeople. So here's Tesla at Tesla.
Right.
And they weren't selling enough
Mm-hmm.
cars, and things were just nosediving. And
Mm-hmm.
he just said, okay, if you're not building a car, you're
Mm-hmm.
selling a car.
Mm-hmm.
And he completely changed his organization,
Hmm.
and then he was able to kind of rebuild. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm a small business owner. Your audience is small business
Mm-hmm.
owners. I think that's the kind of thinking we need
Mm-hmm.
to have, very entrepreneurial
Right.
type thinking, instead of
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, poor me,
Yeah.
it's all changed. I
This
have
is
to
the way I've always done it.
have always done it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the last thing you want to hear.
And
You know.
it's like we said, what we used to do was we went and met with people. And
Yeah,
we'll get back to that. I mean, this isn't going to last forever, but for now, we have to reach out to them using technology. Whether it's phone, whether it's email, whether it's social media, whatever. So we have to reach out to those people. What I love is, of course, we're expanding our connections, because we're not, we have time to do it. I've started a group on Tuesdays that's an online networking group, and we have people from, all over everywhere that participates. And it's really fun because, I'm seeing people make connections that they never, ever would have made.
yeah,
you
yeah,
know, and I told somebody, I said, I miss going to in-person business meetings and chamber things and things like that. But at the same point, when you sit down and you figure out, okay, well, it was a half hour ish drive each way
yeah,
for, a mediocre food. Now, our caterers around here, we had some really pretty good caterers, but, so you had this food, maybe a good program, and things like that. But you talk to the same people you always talk to, you gravitated towards, oh, look, there's Bill, there's Sue. I haven't seen them in a while. I'm going to go talk to them, as opposed to going and networking. But now, when we're networking online, we're very specific.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I think we're doing much better. And, that 3-hour time span that we could have gone to that chamber meeting, 3 hours of online connecting, whether you're, excuse me, building your LinkedIn, all these various things. That's the great way to be doing this.
yeah. I think so too. And and it's a lot of effort for everyone to physically go to the same place. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
was on a call a couple days ago, and I think we had somebody from Boston and somebody from San Francisco
Mm-hmm.
and Miami, and we were all online and we were all talking and chatting. But
Mm-hmm.
it would have been a lot of effort and expense for
Mm-hmm.
people to fly in from all
Mm-hmm.
those places.
So we're back. Little touchy things here with the video. You got to love technology. But, it's interesting because we are having to change how we function and how we work. And we get things like interruptions when we're on calls and things like that. And so that's where it's kind of fun, because these things happen.
Sure.
And we just do. We just adapt and we go along.
Yeah, I mean, it humanizes us too,
Mhm.
don't you think?
Right. Yes. Yeah.
You
The
know,
UPS man comes and bangs on the door. The cat wanders through. The kid wanders through. Mm-hmm.
yeah, my kids, I still tell them, I'm on a board meeting. I'm
Mm-hmm.
really important. Mommy's on a meeting from 4 to 5, and I shut the door and make
Mm-hmm.
sure the dog is, but they'll still come bursting in, and
Oh, yeah.
they're 13 and they're fighting or something. And so
Which, it's kind of fun because, getting to know the people that we associate with does just kind of add a little bit to that. And,
Yeah.
and so we'll go back to, part of the CRM. I mean, you
Yeah.
could put that in the notes. You could
could.
say, Susan has 2 very rambunctious kids.
Yeah.
So then I'm going to ask you about them. and maybe you look in somebody's office, we're all starting to get the Zoom backgrounds,
Yes.
whether it's a screen, and mine is actually real stuff that's back there. Yours is real stuff that's back there. But, and so then you might notice that they've got the picture of the dog, the kid playing soccer, whatever. One of the new trends that I've seen is, what do the Hollywood people, when they're in front of the bookshelves, what books do they read? There was one yesterday. What does Tom Hanks read?
Ooh.
And it's like, who was that really Tom Hanks' bookshelf? I mean, who cared? But yeah, and so we're getting little things, and you can put that in your CRM. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Well, again, and we've said this, I mean, people like doing business with people they trust, who they like. And the only way you can really build that trust is to better understand who they are, and what they like and what they don't like, and how they like to be communicated with. So video gives us that opportunity, a window into their life. It's kind of like, it makes me think of, I wasn't even born yet, but the Mad Men, like 50s time, the boss would take potential employee out to dinner, and he would bring his wife, and you'd have to meet the wife. And so it's just accelerated all that. You get to know somebody really quick in a video, and their backgrounds and their kids and I think it's good. Anything that humanizes and connects.
Well, yeah, and when we go to someone's office, you'd see those things. And it was interesting. I was talking to somebody yesterday. She's interviewing for she's out of work right now and interviewing. And one of the things that when we used to go in person to interview, you kind of look around and you say, oh, they play, their son plays soccer. So then you'd put that, you'd say something about that during your interview, and you might even include it in your thank you note. Hope your son has a great tournament this weekend, or whatever. And again, that just humanized those things, because we all want to be important. And so when I think somebody paid attention to me, I'm going to remember them.
Well, for sure. Yeah. And, it doesn't always happen. I mean, there are a lot of people who really don't care about me and whether I have 3 rambunctious kids, and they just want to tell me something. And you pick up on that. And you don't, if you really need their product or service, you're like, I don't know.
And it depends on what it is. I mean, some of it I'm like, okay, whatever. But it's not even a price thing, or if I'm going to be buying it more than one time. There are times where I might, it might be a repetitive thing, and I'm thinking this could be a long-term relationship with this person. I want to like them, or maybe it is a one-time thing, but I'm going to refer other people to them, and so there's just those little things. There's a reason in LinkedIn that you can put in your volunteer experience, all those various things. It just allows us to connect with people a little bit more.
Yeah. And back to, so the original topic, you're right. All of that can go into your CRM, and, and it also helps you avoid really disastrous things. Like one of my marketing folks was like, oh, we should send all the sales reps who refer us business a bottle of bourbon to thank them. And I just know that I have some
people that don't drink.
Yeah. That's an obvious one, but knowing that somebody is very outspoken about alcohol and not drinking, if we'd sent him a bottle of bourbon, that would have been just really bad.
Or, sending a vegan, a whole bunch of an Omaha steak package, probably not a good idea either, things like that.
Yeah, that's funny. So,
and it really is something that once you get it going, and of course that's the tricky part. We all go, oh my God, I've got all these business cards. I've got this out of date thing. So tell us a little bit more specifically about what it is that you do, because like I said, so many people, we know we need to do it. We need to suck it out of our brains, all those things. But I'm thinking, it'll take so long and it'll cost so much. So tell me more specifically about what it is that your company does.
Yeah. So we recently partnered with Salesforce, which many folks think of as a CRM platform for a large enterprise. Might not be
expensive.
Way too expensive. Well, they have a small business product called Salesforce Essentials. Very affordable monthly rate. it's a sort of a more user-friendly version of their larger enterprise product. And we have a marketplace of certified Salesforce advisors who know the essential platform. So you can buy this, I think it's $24 a month or something.
Wow.
For the CRM. So it's not very expensive at all. You can get it, and you can hire one of our advisors on the platform for less than $500 to go and get all of your data out of your Excel spreadsheet, out of those printed business cards, out of your head, into your CRM. And then once you have it in your CRM, in Essentials, then you have it there, and then you can just learn over time to keep getting it yourself. So you just $500, you hire one of these advisors, they get it set up, you your data in one place, and then you can start communicating with your customers we're talking about in a more personalized way. So that's something we do. So it's Salesforce Essentials, and you can go to torchlite.com, which is TORCHLITE.com, and you can go find an expert, Salesforce Essentials, and you can hire them, and they'll get you up and running.
Great.
And we've made matches, quite a few times since we've launched, and then there's usually an ongoing kind of relationship. We're able to match freelancers with businesses in their location, in their vertical, and then there can be an ongoing sort of relationship.
Right. Yeah, it could be a one-time thing where it's okay, let's get everything off the top of my desk, put into this, or maybe it is something that is an ongoing thing. And for people who went, oh my gosh, $500, I have to pay them $500. Well, you can try and do it yourself, but I can almost guarantee it's going to cost you more in the long run by doing it that way.
Right. Well, and there's also opportunity costs.
Right.
So you are, should you be talking to customers and solving problems instead of entering data into your CRM? Probably.
Right.
Should you be working on a new product idea, or thinking about planning for next year, or working with an employee who needs some extra help? Probably do that instead of entering data.
Right. Yeah, I tell people I have the 15-minute rule.
Yeah.
If it's going to take me more than 15 minutes, I should probably outsource it. And I really do that, like with my websites. I like tinkering. I like playing. To me, that's great fun. But it's really not a good use of my time, especially if I break it and then I have to pay somebody to fix it anyway. But yeah, if it's going to take more than 15 minutes, so something, your taxes, more than likely it takes you more than 15 minutes to do your taxes. So you have an expert do it. All these, we recently, were applying for some trademarks. And I thought, I can do this. I'm a smart kid. I can do this. And I started the process, which was relatively inexpensive to apply for the trademark. And then I got back from the government, no, we need this and this and this and this and this. And I took one look at everything they needed and thought, oh no, way over my head. And I hired somebody to do it. But could I still have done it? Sure. But it would have taken me many, many hours. So it's best, that's why freelancers, consultants, service people like that, that's why they exist. They're there to help us be better at our business.
Exactly. And I think it's so important to think about, where's your passion, where are you best utilized. A lot of times I think the business owner should be out front dealing with customers, the face, and not back locked in a closet clearing data. But that's a good rule of thumb. I have to remember that if it takes me 15 minutes, then outsource it. And of course,
even if it's something that you really like, like I said, I like playing on WordPress. Not a good use of my time.
No. Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah. And obviously there's things that you still could do yourself. So, say you've gone to the conference, you've got your 100 business cards. Well, you kept back maybe 10 of the people you need to reach out to. So everything still gets entered into the CRM and kind of generalized, but then there's 10 very specific ones that you want to deal with. So it's not, and I think that's maybe what I'm trying to say is, it's not, you're just turning it over to somebody. You're still part of that process, because it's your business, whether you're a salesperson or whether, you're the owner or whatever, you still have to be in control of it.
Yeah, for sure. Another benefit of getting that data into your CRM is that, say you do have a salesperson that's tasked with following up, you want them, if they go away, there's a lot of turnover, you don't want all of that information going away with that individual. You want to be able to hire somebody, they can log into your CRM and see all of the past interactions and that kind of thing.
Right. Perfect. Well, Susan, this is great. Even with our little interruption that we'll have edited out, but there'll be a little blurb in the video, so that's why I mention it. But tell us again how people find you and connect with you online.
Yeah, sure. So you can go to torchlite.com. It's Torchlite, so LITE.com. And if you are a freelancer, we'd love to have you sign up to be part of our network. So you can come and you can become an expert on our platform and get work. Or if you're looking for some help with your CRM, Salesforce in particular,
great,
you can go and you can find one of those freelancers who can help you get up and running.
Perfect. I love it. I love it. Well, we'll have to chat again at some point, because to see, how have things changed in 6 months to a year and things like that. But, until then, do you have any final thoughts for everybody?
I just love small businesses, small business owners. I am one too. And it's a tough time right now. And I just commend everyone's resilience. And I think we just need to think creatively and partnering up with other small businesses is smart to kind of get through this and even thrive, if we take advantage of this change. So those are my parting thoughts.
Perfect. I love it. Well, I've been having a great time talking with Susan Marshall. I'm Deb Creer. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.